I was born in 1925 in July, and I have lived in this area all of my life. My father rented land and worked teams and farmed with horses and mules until the middle 30s. And I always loved horses, and I might have made a farmer if he'd kept farming with horses. But when he traded his horses off for machinery, I told him that I would not be a farmer and I was going to be a cowpuncher. Everyone made fun of me and said, well, you're going to starve to death, $30 a month. I said, I don't care. I'll be doing what I like. And I was very young at that time. I actually started out saying that when I was about 5. I had a good Shetland horse, and I started day herding, helping day herd about 150 cows when I was 6 years old. And they belonged to a man that owned this land in this area. And his manager had a boy about my age, and then he and a boy that worked for him, and we two young boys would day herd the cattle up and down these rivers. They weren't fenced at that time. And we'd graze down Mulberry Creek and down to the forks of the Prairie Dog Fork of Red River. And then we'd graze back up Red River to Battle Creek. Then we'd graze from Battle Creek up to another neighbor, and then bring the herd back across, and we would pen these cattle at night. They had pens scattered up and down all of this area, and it'd take us about 5 days to make the circle, or maybe 7. And we'd end up back here south of where I live, and then we'd go back into Mulberry and go down the other side of the river. And we grazed the river all summer while we were out of school that way. And I got paid a marvelous salary. I furnished my own horse, and when we went in to water the cattle at noon and let them rest a while, they would feed me dinner at a camp somewhere, and Mr. Walker would rope each of us boys a big steer yearling, and we'd put our pigging strings around him and ride him. And that was my wages and Mr. Walker's boy also. So we did real well financially, but we did learn a lot about cattle at a very early age, and we had a lot of different experiences at that time. I did. And as I grew up, my father was, as I've said, was a very good farmer, and he traded his workhorses off for a tractor, I think, in 1934. And then he farmed more land with an old 2-row tractor. He was farming about 500 acres. And the way he managed that, he hired a boy to run it in the daytime, and then he would hang lanterns on each side of the tractor. He'd run it all night. and they ran the tractor 24 hours a day. So that gave me a lot of time for cowpunching.